My name is Matt. I'm an alcoholic. My sobriety date is December 8th, 2018. I got sober by working the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. I have a home group, have a sponsor. I'm involved in service and outside of the home group. So just a little disclaimer before I start telling my story. Drugs are a part of my story, but out of respect for AA, for our primary purpose, everything's going to be referred to as drinking or alcohol, but they were definitely part of my story. So from the very first time I took a drink, I completely fell in love. I remember thinking, as long as I can do this for the rest of my life, I'm gonna be okay. All this anxiety that I had had building up, all these feelings of not fitting in, feeling uncomfortable in my own skin, they were just washed away in a second. So, alcohol use really did a lot for me. It was a solution to a lot of things for me for a long time. I had a normal upbringing. There's no specific trauma or no one event that I can point to and be like, yeah, that's why I drank. I'm drinking over this one thing. I was just a very unhappy kid, and alcohol made me happy. At first it was fun. It helped me make friends, helped me exist as a regular human being. I would hang out with people, right? I'd hang out with my friends in like high school, and there would be times where they wanted to do things other than drinking. And I remember thinking, why? What are we going to do? That's crazy. Where's the booze? Like, come on. Which to me was kind of in retrospect, was an early warning sign that maybe like something was amiss. Cause like other people I could see could do things without alcohol. Whereas me, that was first and foremost, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to drink. I started going to school drunk, started having issues there, issues with my family. And eventually, starting at age 16, I was sent out to some different treatment centers against my will. Actually, I'll tell that as a quick story. I got woken up in the middle of the night by a couple of people that my parents had hired. They're called a escort company, escort service, but not like the fun kind, like the kind that wakes you up in the middle of the night and takes you to treatment. Didn't work, didn't stick. I kept drinking after that, after I had gotten out of treatment. And things started to become a little bit more severe. Drinking in the mornings was one thing. Having withdrawal, my whole life was absorbed by it. I had gone to school, to college, when I was around 19 years old, and I actually ended up dropping out because all I was doing was drinking with my friends. Like, it was just a place to drink. I didn't give a dang about going to class and passing writing courses or whatever. It didn't even make sense to me. Nothing. Doing anything but drinking did not really make any sense to me. So I ended up dropping out, just kind of working seasonal jobs. I would move around a lot, which is another thing. I never could hold a job. I would always be at a place for like 6 to 8 months, and then that would be over. Either I'd get fired or I would move. I started making pretty irrational decisions behind a drink. So this went on for a while. Eventually, I decided I wanted to move home. I wanted to live with my parents rent free and drink. I told them that I wanted help. So the condition was, go home, go to rehab, and then you can live at home. Did not stay sober initially, but that was the beginning of a 2-year period where I would drink for like 30 days, 60 days, go back to rehab, or I would become homeless, and something would happen, drinking, not drinking. And it was horrible. It was torturous, because sometimes I really did want to get sober in that period of time. Like, I really did, but I couldn't. And towards the end of that 2-year period, I had what I like to call my first real authentic step one experience. And I was actually sober when it happened. I was in rehab, and I knew without any shadow of a doubt that as soon as I left, no matter what I did, I was going to drink again. And my life was going to continue to be unmanageable because of that. And I have never felt so depressed in my life. I was thinking about this in Bill's story. There's a standing at the edge of a window, cursing himself for a weakling. I'm paraphrasing, because he wanted to jump, but he couldn't. And that's kind of where I was at a few points, but especially towards the end there. I wanted to die, but I couldn't do it. But I also couldn't stay sober. But that's what step one tells us. It doesn't tell us that we can't drink or we're not supposed to drink. It tells us that with our own power, we're going to drink, which is what I found to be true. I had a couple people there who had been through some of the same things that I had been, and they were sober. They were happy. They were like staff there. I don't remember exactly what it was, but one of them made me laugh or something, was just kind of like palling around with me. And I realized, hey, maybe if I do what they did, I'll actually be able to stay sober. And of course, like, what they had done was Alcoholics Anonymous. I decided there that that's what I was going to do. All the times that 12-step programs had been suggested to me, all the times that AA had been suggested to me, that I just kind of like ignored or did half-assedly, I was going to do it. And I did not come in to AA with any kind of conception or belief in a higher power at all. So step three was difficult for me, but what I ended up doing, I just took suggestions. People told me to pray. My thought was, if I didn't know I was praying, to make that known, and I did, to help people to meditate. That's where I was at for about 9 months. Towards the end of that 9 months, after I had made a, might not have been 9 months. It was like right after I had made a few of my amends, I had this experience, which I do not have enough time to get into, but it was a spiritual experience, like a visceral spiritual experience. It was something that I could feel that there was something like greater than myself that was kind of helping me through this. And then, unlike all the other times I tried to stay sober, I actually did. So 9 months was way longer, by the way, way longer than I had ever been sober before. And that also, to me, it's like my own little personal miracle, being able to stay sober, but not just be able to stay sober, but I was changing as a person. I was becoming more content. I was happy, and I had friends. Oh my God. I had friends, like people who actually cared about me, that helped me through this, that checked in with me, that carried me along when I was too full of resentment or self-pity, and people that called me out on that stuff too. So that was very important. A lot of those friends, by the way, this is perfect transition into talking about Ninja Pod, because a lot of those friends I had met this thing called Ninja Pod, the New Jersey Young People of Alcoholics Anonymous. So in 2019, I think it was March 2019, there was this conference in Atlantic City, which is where I live, by the way, where a bunch of people that I knew in the program were going to. It was called ECPA, which at the time didn't really understand it, but now I know it's the Eastern Area Conference of Young People in Alcoholics Anonymous. It was at Bally's in Atlantic City. And I had so much fun. I danced sober. That's where my mind goes. I danced and sober, and I had a good time. It was amazing. But all these young people, older people, these people, sober people, were there at a casino of all places, having a good time. It was a mind-blowing experience. But later I found out that a similar kind of thing was happening just in New Jersey, which again, at the time, I really didn't understand what was going on. Actually, that's a funny story that I think I got time to tell. So I didn't have a car. I was walking to a bus stop to a meeting, and a couple of people I knew in the program drove past me, and they stopped, and they're like, yo, you need a ride to the meeting? I'm like, yeah, sure. So I got in the car, and they were like, hey, we're actually not going to the meeting. We're going to, it's like a business meeting, but we're going to go out to eat after. It's a lot of fun. I'm like, wow, I really don't want to do this, but I'll go. And that was my first New Jersey Young People's business meeting. And so I'm still involved in that. I've talked a lot about having friends has been important to me, but the thing with the friends I met in Ninja Pod is we're kind of all brought together with one goal, which is helping other people, which is bringing other people into the fold, which we do inside the committee and outside too. If there's one thing that's really kept me sober, it's trying to help other people, is thinking about what other people need and what I can do for them and how I can help them to a place where I've been able to get to now. Because I really didn't get sober. I did a few things, and I was fortunate enough to have people who helped me through. Also, those things got me in touch with God, which is my higher power. I like to call it God, not for, I'm not religious. It just God. It feels like the right terminology for me. But I will say, if there's anyone in here who's struggling with spirituality, it says in my book, all you need to get started is willingness to do the things that are suggested, which, I personally found to be true. My higher power has done a lot for me, has helped me through some difficult situations. Recently, I was just let go from a job I had been at for a little over a year that I really loved. And my natural inclination is to become resentful and feel sorry for myself and just kind of give up. But, I have to believe that I wasn't kept on this earth, because there's a lot of times I should have died. I wasn't kept on this earth to feel bad for myself. I don't believe that. It doesn't make sense. So that's one of many things my higher power has helped me through. That's really more or less the end of what I'm going to talk about. There is one thing I wanted to plug real quick. This weekend, there's a camping trip in Cheese Creek State Park in New Jersey. It seems like there's people from all over the country here. I don't know. There's a camping trip. It's going to be a lot of fun. I can put my number in the chat if that's okay with you guys. You want more information, but that's all I got. Thank you so much for letting me share, and God bless.